Hello, everyone. I believe that we're recording. I didn't hear the little voice as per usual, but it's great to have you with us today. Thanks so much for joining us for today's virtual cafe. Of course, we're going to be talking about what's moving the dial in your business. And for those of you who don't know me, maybe haven't met me before, my name is Carrie Ramsey, and I'm the project manager for the Weekend Project. And as we were just sharing with some other groups, we're excited that the Weekend Project has been extended till the end of May 2026. It's been going now for 5.5 years and shows no signs of stopping. So we're excited about that. But we're always excited, of course, when we're able to share that things are continuing. So welcome. It's great to have you. Let's take a moment as we're getting started. These are great discussions are wonderful for learning and sharing, but let's also use it for networking. And so if you want to put a note into the Zoom chat as to what your business is, maybe where you're located, if you have a web link that you want to add, go ahead and do that. And then we will be able also to see who's on the call, and you guys can network in the Zoom chat. It's always great for visibility. And even though you've done it maybe 150 times before, there's always new people on the call. So it's great to have you with us. While you're doing that, I'll take a moment to acknowledge that Queen's University is situated on the ancestral territory of the Huron, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. And we are so lucky to have a great number of Indigenous owned businesses in our group. And I thought that today I would just highlight one of them, as I like to do from time to time. Laura Varga is the owner of Life Design Coaching. Some of you know her. She's actually been a part of our masterminds. She's going to be in our next mastermind as well. And I'm going to put a link to her business in the Zoom chat. And Laura does, she does workshops. She's a certified life coach, and she is passionate about helping people unlock their potential and moving through change. So I put her link there, and I just thought that I would highlight that as a part of our land acknowledgement today, since we're all about supporting women-owned businesses. Hey, this is still Women's History Month, and so I hope that you'll also get a chance to celebrate in your own way. All right, let's dive into today's topic. Thanks so much for those of you who are joining us. Again, whoever is able to come on camera would be fantastic. I know that there are some more who are joining us as we go. Okay, so the topic today is what's moving the dial in your business. And so one thing that I've reflected on recently is the fact that there are different types of activities in our business. Three main types, I would say. One is high impact activity, and that is something that creates like change we can see, or I'd like to say sales, because really we're in business, create money and sales, impact. The other thing, so there's high impact activities. There's also low impact activities. These are things that have to be done in our business, but they don't necessarily move the dial. So that might be bookkeeping. That might be updating the social links on your website, the stuff behind the scenes that it's important, but it doesn't move the dial. And so in that case, sometimes we delegate it. Sometimes, if it's not really helpful, we delete it. So I just want to keep that in mind, that there's those low impact activities. And then, of course, there's the distractions, right? So three types of activities that we tend to do in our business. Today, we're really interested in hearing your thoughts, whether it's in the Zoom chat, or ideally, if you can come off and do, talk to us as well, about what is moving the business in your dial. What are those high impact activities that are really making a difference? So I don't know who would like to start today, but I'm just going to throw it out there. As many of you know, I also have a business, so I can weigh in from time to time on my own business experiences, but I would love to have your thoughts. So you can use the hand raising reaction button if you like, or you can post something in the Zoom chat. So this is meant to generate a discussion for all of us. And so let's go ahead and dive in. Even those of you who have indicated in the Zoom chat you can't be on camera, go ahead, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Who would like to start and be the brave one? I know you all are pretty chatty, so I'm just going to pick on somebody if you are not jumping in. I was a professor for 15 years. I can call out people in the group. All right, Cheyenne, I'm just going to pick on you. I'm going to get you to start it.
I was
So
gonna volunteer.
I knew you would. So
Oh,
question is, what is moving the dial? What's working? What's a high impact activity for you right now?
This is a really big focus I have right now in even discerning what's high impact. I'm in the growth stage. I've been at this 5 years or so. I've really locked in my approach and my frameworks. I'm looking at IPs right now. And interestingly, I'm analyzing it. And when we're in that initial phase of getting our feet underneath us, high impact activities is really, like you said, sales, right? We need to get the revenue in, we need to validate. And now I'm at a place where that's certainly a priority, but a high impact activity for me is now working in the business, working on the business rather, where I am starting to build out those frameworks and build out like the background stuff so that I'm not still spinning that wheel. So I'm looking at my high impact activity right now is leveraging what I've already done so that I'm moving into the next stage of business. So it's an interesting one where it's like you almost have to shift your perspective. So that's where I am.
I love that. So there are people on the call then who are in that early, well, maybe even ideation stage of business where they just have the idea. Then there's some in early stage, then there's growth stage, and then there's scale up phase. And so I love that. So our high impact activities in the idea stage might actually just be putting the thing out into the world. Early stage, getting that first sale, like and then growth stage, getting repeat sales, and then scale up, like you said, you're in scale up mode now. That's different. That is creating systems and processes so you can grow without you just doing all the work because one person can't do all the work and expand a business. Okay, I love that perspective. I actually didn't thought of it before this call in terms of those stages. So I love it. Yeah. And you did a great workshop for us back in November where you outlined those stages. And so I love that. Okay, very cool. So what is one thing that is doing that for you, Cheyenne? Like you said, working in the business, not on the business. No, on the business, not in the business. Can you give us an example of one of those activities?
So one of it is defining my frameworks and working on my intellectual properties so that I can really systemize the way I do my training and the way that I teach people to market and also bring marketing in for my other clients. And the other one is I am working with an assistant now. So that in and of itself has been such a growth curve for me. So working with her to systemize those low impact activities so that she can take them on and just reorienting myself to my business so I can move into a leverage place where it's less of my time and more me leveraging the frameworks that I've built so that I can generate revenue through that.
I love that. Yeah. So someone who's in, by the way, in the early stage, you might have just gotten freaked out about that. But we have to like compare apples to apples, not apples to helicopters, right? So it's like, what stage of business are you in? What makes sense for you? But I think that's really important because some of you are in that growth slash scale up phase. Okay, love it. So someone else. Thanks, Cheyenne, for kicking it off. Jennifer, over to you next. Tell us maybe about what your stage of business is now that that's relevant here also in the conversation.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that start to the conversation because that kind of gives you permission to not feel guilty about not being where Cheyenne is. So I would say I'm early stage. And for me, the big ticket item for my activity and my time is trying to really get clear on who my target audience is so that I can then really gear my next activities and my marketing and so on related to that.
Yeah, so that's like a foundational piece, which to your point, that is in that early stage, you are laying the foundation. In fact, you can't get, well, you might get some sales, but they'll probably be from the wrong people. And it's not how you want to grow the direction you want to grow the business in without laying the foundation. So what might one of the activities be that you're using to, you're saying that you are identifying that target audience, which is an activity. How are you identifying it? Is there another piece to that, like in a practical sense?
So I think there's a combination of steps, but one of them was I did a significant brainstorming activity with cue cards of, what are the options? Take out what I don't want for sure. Take out what I'm definitely interested in, then what's that middle ground? And then having conversations with people that are within those high interest groups or maybe groups to see what resonates with them, what doesn't. And then also having conversations with people who may be in the area that I'm interested in that are further along in their business stage to see what have their experiences been, what are they seeing, are there gaps that they don't offer that maybe I can help fill in. So it's multi-pronged.
Yeah. And I love two things that you highlighted there. One is that you're having conversations with people, because a lot of times as business owners, we just sort of hide behind our computer screen. And, it takes more than that. It takes having those actual conversations. If you want to really build a business that impacts people and that people are going to buy from you, then we need to talk to the people that are our ideal customers. And then you indicated something else, which was, to me, community. It's like surrounding yourself, connecting with other business owners, whether that's through a mastermind or a coaching, and we, as many of you know, we provide free coaching through the WeCan project, or just getting together with a business bestie. Like those types of conversations, those are dial movers for sure, because they're going to be moving us and getting us more zoned in and focused. You mentioned, you talked about the cue cards. A couple of people are like, we love the cue card idea. Vision boards, that's another thing that I've heard people do in terms of activity to identify the target audience. I love that. Okay, so Jennifer's in that early stage, and one of her high impact activities right now is getting clear on that target audience. Someone else who might be, and I'm going to go to the Zoom chat as well, just to see if someone has mentioned something in there as well. Feel free to add in there what you are doing. So Ashley says she's focusing on branding her offer as a local, is this? Yes, okay. So branding her offer as a local legacy storyteller. So getting focused then on what she wants to be, her brand, creating small group storytelling courses. So in that case, Ashley's talking about now, she I believe is in the growth phase, if I'm not mistaken, Ashley, because she's been in business for a little bit, but she's getting really focused on what she wants to do moving forward, because she's done some selling. And then that even in your first 2 years of business, right? You're refining what I actually want to sell, in addition, like Jennifer said, to who I want to sell it to. Okay, very cool. Ashley, I think that even if you're like within 1 or 2 years, then it's you're refining that offer, and that in itself is a high impact activity. Okay, someone else, in terms of what is moving the dial for your business, what is getting results, and results are what we want, right? And that can mean different things to different people. So feel free to even express that yourself, like what is the result you're looking for? And we have different types of businesses with different types of objectives as well. Although I will underline that businesses do need to make money or they're not businesses. All right, you know me, like this, there's a difference between a hobby and a business, and in business we make revenue. So let's not avoid making revenue and profit in particular. All right, who would like to go next? I'm going to check the Zoom chat. Someone with a high impact activity. What is working? What is moving the dial in your business? It's not the Carrie show today. You have to participate, because this is a virtual discussion. Yep. So Ashley's talking about embracing the no. Absolutely. That idea that we don't have to do everything for everyone. Oh, and not offering our time for free. So in fact, that is, I would say, when we say yes to high impact activities, to Ashley's point, sometimes it means saying no to the things that are not moving the dial. So let's switch this conversation a little bit. While some of you think about what your high impact activities are, what are the ones that you know are not high impact for you? What is something you are doing? Maybe you have it scheduled for today. Let's make it real, but it's actually not moving the dial in your business. And so I was thinking actually even about this hour we're spending together today, and thinking, there could be someone who shows up and doesn't implement what we're talking about today. In that case, to me, that would be a wasted hour, right? Like I think that if you signed up and you showed up, at least you want to get something out of this. But honestly, there are ways that we can show up for workshops and even these types of activities and not get anything out of it, right? So what we put into it, we get out of it. That's the bottom line. But I mean, think about the activities today. Like for me, I think that this could be a huge thing that moves the dial on your business, because you could hear an aha moment where it's like, oh, I maybe need to stop doing that. I need to get more focused on things that bring about change or impact. So yeah, so what is something that maybe isn't moving the dial for you that you might want to admit to as well? This is a safe space. Yeah, so Ashley's talking about creating a time tracking system so she can keep track of the time. Right. So if you're not like, and not everybody bills hours, let's be honest, but the idea that if it's not actually translating into something, into, whether it's sales or impact, then maybe it's not worthwhile, right? Let me throw out another idea, and then I know Laura's going to go. By the way, Laura, I just gave you a shout out at the top of the program. I put you're gonna have to listen to the recording because I gave you a shout out at the front.
Thank you.
But I'll let you go next, and then I'm going to slide in with something on funnels, which I think also is an interesting way to look at this idea.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. So I have a response for both of those things. One of the things that's not moving the dial is I keep getting caught up in thinking that I need to attend more things to learn more things rather than just really focusing in on what I already know and what's already working. And I find that like that's an entrepreneurial thing where we want to learn everything, we want to do everything, but sometimes staying focused on what we decided to set out on is the best path.
Absolutely. I call it
and-
procrastinating. I just put that in the Zoom chat. Procrastinating is something we're all well known for. Yes.
Yeah. And then what is working for me, interestingly enough, is I am taking a few more risks in using AI to get me started on things. Like I wanted to prepare a presentation the other day and I had written out all my notes, but I was like, it was just daunting to start to put it together in an organized way. And I used ChatGPT to do it. And so I'm learning how to leverage that in like an ethical, embodied way that's helpful to me and saves me time, but still is making sure that like I'm being, authentic and representing myself properly. And then the other thing that is moving the dial that I need to stay consistent with is doing reels on social media where I'm just talking is getting a ton of engagement and like getting me noticed and more speaking opportunities and things like that. So I know that that's working and I need to be consistent at putting myself out there more because sometimes it's uncomfortable or I don't feel like it. And I'm battling that too. Like just because you don't feel like it doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing it.
Yes. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
All sorts of notes taken on that. This is a masterclass, by the way, and getting things done as well, right? So I love that, using ChatGPT just to get us going with the ideas for those who may just feel that block. I love it. Okay, thanks, Laura, for sharing that. Cheyenne, over to you.
Very similar to what Laura just mentioned. Noticing for us entrepreneurs, we're great at spotting opportunities. It's how we're wired. It's why we end up being entrepreneurs. But then when we get to a stage where we figured something out, we actually have to cut that down. So myself, we have such a genius on like spotting different possibilities. You actually have to like stop that and just focus on what you're doing. So that's been a huge piece for me. And I've been using ChatGPT for a while, but right now I'm working on custom GPTs and I'm working on helping my one-on-one clients build their own so that they can plug in their brand and their strategies and then they can have it create on brand content and everything. So yeah, the AI, embracing the AI is the same on my page.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. I love it. Marta, over to you.
I'm finding that what's moving my dial is being, and funny enough, more authentic. But what I mean by that is like showing up more as myself, like the goofy part, the sometimes intense and highly driven part, showing my face more. People really seem to like the content where I'm like they can see me doing something in my day-to-day life, which is really great because I feel like I'm connecting with people more that way. I do resonate with what Ashley mentioned about like the procrastinating. That's definitely it's like that imposter syndrome. It's like I'm not good enough. And it's like, I mean, in my practice, like I have complete confidence in myself, but it's in the marketing part that I'm like, like I could do better, I could know better, which is definitely true. Like that's certainly not what I got my master's in. But it's still daunting to think like, do I need to know more? Which I mean, the answer is always yes, but how much? And is the drive to know more hindering me more than what I need to learn, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I love that you peeled, and Marta, I'm not surprised given what you do, that you peeled back the layer on. It's not just that we're procrastinating. Why? Because we're afraid, right? Because there's always a fear. And anytime, by the way, that we do distracting activities, things that take us away from putting our offer out there, it's fear. It's fear of being rejected. It's fear it's not ready. And guess what? It's never going to be ready. I always say, you don't need a perfect product. The market will perfect the product. You just put your product out. I mean, don't put out junk, obviously, like something you've thought about, but put something out there and let the market perfect it. Because as Jennifer mentioned, through our conversations and through interaction and dialogue with our ideal customers, we can then perfect that product and make it something that is just like a hot commodity, right? So I love that. I love that Marta touched on visibility. I'm going to say that visibility is one of the high impact activities. So the more we hide, again, because of fear, we are not out there facing our business. And I'm not saying you have to do reels, but it's interesting that both, Laura mentioned reels, whatever way you need to be visible in your business, that is something that is a high impact activity. Why? Because it builds trust and recognition and all the things, and women avoid visibility. And even interesting, 50% of people on this call. No, I'm just joking. I know you guys are busy behind your screens, but it's something that we like. So, I didn't do my hair. I can't be on screen, or like. And to Laura's point, she's just showing up, And Marta said also authentically, right? That idea of us just saying this is me. And I love, Marta, that you highlighted that. Very cool. Okay, someone else who has maybe an idea about something that's high impact activity, moving the dial for them, or maybe, you're just like, this is something that doesn't move the dial. Let's be all honest. We've done things, and maybe you stopped doing something in your business because it's not moving the dial. That might actually help someone else on this call. You never know in these peer-to-peer, because someone's like, I was told I should do this. It's not doing anything, but I guess I'll keep doing it. Jennifer, over to you.
Spending too much time on your logo.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Right? Nobody has ever bought from a logo ever before, right? Yeah. We buy from the people behind the logo. That's gold. I love it. All right, somebody else, an activity. Laura Lee, I just wanted to mention, Laura Lee's talking in the Zoom chat. She's saying she's always enthusiastic about learning and expanding her knowledge, but she needs to balance this with her existing responsibilities. And I think that's what we're all saying, yes. Social media, she says, is a relatively new platform for her. She's still getting used to it, not entirely comfortable with on-screen interactions, but open to exploring and adapting, which I think that is the key to a successful business entrepreneur. Laura Lee, you're open to adapting. And so let me just see if I missed anything. Yeah, being open to learning. Yeah, Marta's saying she's learning to take up space by saying, hi, I exist. I love that. I'm not sure, Marta, why that's happening. That's interesting in the Zoom chat. Okay, okay, other thoughts. So I have some other guiding questions in case, but those are two key questions that we're talking about. Can you name distractions? I mean, we talked about high impact activities. There's low impact activities, like we said, that are necessary to run a business, like bookkeeping, like website maintenance, but maybe you're doing those and you shouldn't be because they're taking away time. Maybe you need to delegate or offload those to someone else. But let me bring this to real life. What is something you have planned for today that you think is going to move the dial? Or let me throw that. What is something you have planned on your calendar today that you know is not going to move the dial, but you've got it on your calendar anyways? And I'm talking within your workday. I'm not talking in your personal life, because we can all have fun and do things that aren't necessarily business related. I'm talking in your business workday. Let's get real here, because this is real life. And I want this hour that you spent with us to make a big difference. So Maria, as we're calling her, as she likes to be called. Maria says that she's an early stage business. She's building that business. And so her target is doing some research, connecting with other organizations and therapists to grow her business, needs to work on the website and marketing the business. So these are definitely some of those early stage activities that will lead to the first sales, let's say, or in continued sales. And so I want to jump on one word that you mentioned, Maria, there, which is research, because again, I think research is wonderful. I did research before starting my business, but I'm also going to say there's a point where we can just research too much and be like, we're ready. I think somebody else had said, it's like sometimes we're ready to go and we just need to let people know we exist. Like Marta said, hey, I'm here. This is what I do. I'm ready. And we can start with an imperfect product, like maybe a basic version, and perfect it as we go. I recently met a business owner who was so obsessed with all the back end parts of her systems and all of this, but the product itself was lacking, right? But boy, she had the bells and the whistles. It's not about the bells and the whistles. I'm going to tell you right now, you better have a viable product that people want and are willing to pay for. That's the other important part. And to me, deciding those types of things is the research we need to do. So I'm just saying, Maria, and all of us don't get distracted on research on bells and whistles. That'll come. Okay, so someone else. Yeah, outsourcing. Oh, sorry, it's a question. Yeah, so many appointments. What distracts us? And Ashley's talking about things that don't relate to my work. Health, kids' life, and that's important parts of our life because we work to live, not work to live, or the other way around, live to work. So yeah, we do have those things that are part. So Marta's suggesting outsourcing, family and friends. If it's interrupting our workday, that's the question. I think that's what Ashley is getting at. Ashley's trying to do work and then things are distracting from other parts of her life. Marta, go ahead and then we'll mention Jennifer's comment.
There was a coach that I was just connecting with yesterday who mentioned just like when you have an offer coming up and you're not selling, are you even sharing it with people? And how are you sharing it? Like go into people's DMs, be the weirdo, like do that, like slide in, say, hey, I have this offer. And I even did this with like an old high school friend. It's a bit big of a word, but I noticed that she was liking a lot of my posts. And I also noticed that on one of her stories, she shared this like personal development focused book that she started reading. And I was like, ooh, okay, so I'm seeing the connection. And when I launched my ebook to help women like heal trauma and live an authentic life, I was like, hey, I noticed that you're really into personal development books. I created one. And like, I just thought that it would resonate with you. I was like, here's the link, no pressure, like do as you please. And like that, I just noticed it's been really helpful. And like, I'll start reaching out to people who are liking my posts. But yeah, so I think that's just a big thing. It's just like take up space, show up in places that you don't think would be relevant and feel uncomfortable, because I've noticed as well that sometimes when someone will end a call with me and like they're not really sure, I'll just say, okay, you know what, it's not meant to be, not a big deal. And I think to myself, like, no, well, what if they're scared? They're probably like going on this hamster wheel of anxiety. And I should just be like, hey, it's okay. Like, are you still interested in the offer? How can I do to make this easier for you? Instead of just like admitting defeat because I think I should and being polite about it, I'm more forthcoming, but still in a very like compassionate way of why haven't you booked? If it's just you don't like me, cool. Which come on now. But if it's like the money, okay, well, why is money a problem? Like I never want to let that be a reason why someone doesn't book with me, because I think that there's still a way to make it work, because you can still offer and honor my value while I can still help you grow, because that, the growth will come in time. So I guess like just taking up space in ways that feel intrusive, I think is the right word. But
yeah,
like still being kind about it.
100%. I've had people who say they don't put out newsletters because they don't want to bother people. I'm like, how many email lists are you on? They're like, well, 25. I'm like, well, You know, we are just so afraid of bothering people with our offer that that's holding us back from creating business. And so I think that once we get, it's like a flywheel, right? Once you start to create sales and it goes, and you're like, oh, people value this. Oh, I'm solving a problem. I'm not selling, I'm serving. Oh, okay. So I'm okay with this now. Like it's sort of this mental leap and obstacle I find a lot of people can't get over. You mentioned DMs, which I wanted to highlight, Marta. I also have found that people like DMs are almost the new email. Like people are very okay with you connecting with them through DMs. I actually initially, that's how I sold out my first event in my business because I had moved to a new area. People didn't know me. So I slipped into all these DMs of business owners. I'm like, hey, I'm Carrie. And here's an event, like I just really brief, but I was like, hey, I think you'd enjoy this event. And when they saw that I was a person, you know, and it wasn't overly spammy and I was in their local area, that was key. We sold out that first event and there's no reason I would have, or no way I could have without being in people's DMs. And the other thing that Marta just pointed out was using social media in a smart way, right? I usually, and I'm surprised nobody said in terms of the distractions, maybe I missed it in the Zoom chat. Usually social media is the first thing that people say when they talk about low impact activities or something that's not moving the dial. And I'm like, yeah, but social media, if used correctly, can be a huge, huge, you know, it's kind of like setting up a website, but you don't put the buy button on it. And then someone complaining their website's not working. I'm like, girl, you didn't put the buy button on it. Where do we click to buy? Is the same thing with social media, right? If we're just consuming and scrolling, yes, death scrolling is a distraction, but I scroll to read people's comments, like Marta just said, oh, she read a self-help book. Interesting. She might be interested in what I have. So it's like reading with intention on social to connect with the right people. And that's a part of my everyday activity. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't have built this business. So like that is a primary activity for me that moves the dial. But then again, my target audience is small business owners who are on Instagram. Yours might not be on Instagram, right? So it's like looking at an activity and saying, okay, it's not working for me, but is it just that we need to tweak that activity so it does? And you know, that's where training and coaching comes in as well. Okay, I'm missing all the comments in the Zoom chat. But would anyone else like to comment on either that or something that anyone else has said here? We have a lot of kids that are distractions, cute animal videos, someone is saying, going down online search, you know, rabbit holes. AI can do that as well. I know that for a fact. Cheyenne, over to you.
So one of the things that's really moving the dial for me today, and you mentioned this earlier about not needing things to be perfected. I have right after this a one-on-one coaching call where we're going to be testing out the customized ChatGPT. So before I pushed out to the market to the wider view, I have a coaching client I've been working with for over a year. And I'm like, hey, want to test this with me? And she's like, absolutely. And that kind of product development, just go at it and take action and create it. It's going to hugely move the dial for me.
Sorry. Yeah, I love that you're really focused on that. It's an intentional activity. One thing, let's throw another thing out there right now, and that is funnels. I mentioned it earlier. In my business, one thing that I find, and so I'm curious to know with the group, again, because there's a million things I could do in my day, I have created just a funnel that brings my people to me. Okay, so many of you know, outside of Queens, I run the Fresh Idea Collective, not in the Kingston area, so it's not in competition with what I do at Queens at all. But the way that I serve women entrepreneurs there is through meetups, masterminds, and mentorship. That's my funnel. I hold monthly in-person events in my area. That brings in my folks, and we do all sorts of fun things in women-owned spaces every month. And then and sometimes they'll come to 8 events before they're like, you know, I'd like to go deeper. And then we were like, oh, I have a mastermind. Oh, great, you have a mastermind. And after the mastermind, they're like, I'd really like some one-on-one coaching. And then they go into the coaching or the mentorship. So does anyone have a funnel that really helps to streamline their impact and activities so that it's like their activities are intentional. It's not like I'm selling 40 different things. This is what I sell and here's how I get you there. I guess that's my question. I'm wondering, and I'm always looking to tweak my funnel. But someone else who might have a funnel or something like it. Does anybody else do that? Happy to hear other thoughts. Or maybe it's in development phase or something that's just working in terms of bringing people into that. Ashley says, I'm pretty sure Cheyenne's middle name is Funnel. So what's your funnel? Tell us. And then we're going to Betty after that.
I definitely have funnels. For core funnel, I always say you need to be Googleable. So whatever your dominant digital presence is, it can be LinkedIn, it can be Facebook, it can be a website, Google My Business, be Googleable. So that's one of my funnels. And then I have, that's for people who are clearly interested. I've met them at a networking event. They're already bought in some way. And then I have nurturing funnels, which are the longer game. And that's a mix of social media, webinar, my newsletter, and then conversions into programs.
Yeah. And Martha's asking in the Zoom chat, am I Googleable? And I don't know how many times, like probably once a quarter at least, I do a vanity search, which is I Google my business. And I'm curious to know where it comes up. Like, does it come up? You could Google the name of the business, but you know, that's a little, I think it's more the core service you provide. So women entrepreneurs activities, you know, in my area, or whatever. Like maybe you're a coach, or whatever, or like Wendy, a virtual assistant. So virtual assistant Ontario. Does her, like she might want to know, does her name come up in the first page? If it doesn't, that means we're not as Googleable as we should be. And we can do some things to improve that, including our SEO, including maybe creating a blog where keywords come up on a regular blog post. That's one of my ways that I help to get Googleable. Or like Cheyenne said, the Google My Business. So if and Cheyenne, maybe you want to put a link to Google My Business in the chat in case somebody's not on Google My Business. It's a free thing. Just ideas. I love it. Betty and then Wendy.
There you go. Hi. So yeah, Google, number one. So I have 3 different businesses, various different stages, but always in growth and change. So, you know, I agree with everything that's been coming up, and you just have to put your product out there. Your customers will guide you as to what they want, what more they want, or a different service or a tweak to your service. And it's always growing, changing, adapting, day to day, as needed. And then I do the networking as well. So I belong to a Chamber of Commerce. Again, my businesses are very different from each other. So some are corporate businesses, some are, you know, smaller, working within the community, things like that. So I spread myself out, and I'm always marketing the big picture and, you know, asking what is it that you need? Find a need, fill a need is kind of my motto that I go with. So, you know, if I'm looking at my laundry services and I want to support the senior community, then I get involved with the senior association, and I go out and I do chats, and, you know, I go to retirement residents and sit in on their monthly, they call them town hall meetings and things like that, do presentations and discussions. So it's really just getting yourself out there. And then as I've been growing, I've been building my team. So I do have staff, and sometimes, you know, if I'm short, I'm in doing that again. And that's just part of growth pains. It's normal, totally expected. But as I've grown my team, I've also added somebody in sales who, you know, all my great ideas, now I have somebody that I can send out and do that legwork, come back, do the discussion, and kind of keep that traction going. So yeah, you know, it's a pain, and it's all little ladder rails, right? You gotta take one pain, take a step up, and grow to meet that, and keep doing it until you're getting to the top. So yeah, I really like it, but you have to be visual. You have to hit the markets that you're looking at, get involved, let them know who you are, your face, and ask them what are they looking for, or how you can tweak your service that would benefit them the best.
I love it. I love it. And you mentioned like you're very intentional about the types of places you go to or speak to or are a member of. And I think that that's important as well. Even when it comes to being a member of, you know, a networking group or whatever, it could be the wrong networking group for people, but
Yes.
they're like, well, I feel I should belong to that. I'm like, but are you getting anything out of it? If not, it's not the right one. Finding those groups And so part of what we do at We Can Community is that's a part. Like we want to make sure that this is a community where women can connect and find, that impact and activity. And I know there's women that have built their businesses based on the We Can Community, which I think is brilliant. And it's like just finding the right people, because we can't, like Betty, you got 3 businesses, you could be spread too thin if you allowed yourself to be. So then it's being smart about, okay, I've only got so many hours in my week. I also want a life. So, but yeah, very inspirational. Thanks for sharing that. That made a lot of sense for sure. I love it. Okay, Wendy, over to you. What are your thoughts?
It was just interesting when you were talking about like Googling yourself and SEO and all the things with your website, because for me, my website doesn't move the dial at all in my business. I don't believe so. It's important.
Yeah.
It has to be there. It has to be me.
It's a mothership. We need a mothership. Yeah.
And it's true. You totally do. But for me, even though I'm a virtual assistant and I can work with anyone in Canada, I tend to work with local folks, and I really like that. So for me, it's more of what you were talking about, Betty, like the networking is way more important. So yes, I have to have a website and all the things, but I don't think I get business really from people Googling like in that way. So I think that that's kind of an interesting, like for some of us that moves the dial and for some of us it doesn't, right?
And that's so important. Someone said in the comments as well, it depends what industry you're in, what sector you're in. Like, so all of the things that we're talking about today, it's like, okay, I always say, and take the best, leave the rest. If it works for your business and your sector, take it. But I will say I think it was Betty's point, we do need to be visible. I don't care what kind of business you have. Maybe there's an exception to that rule. I haven't found it yet. But Betty, over to you next.
Yes, I think that was a good, with your social media and things like that. We're not heavy into it. We're just really starting getting into it that now. What I find it as, not as a source of getting people in, but when I've spoken to somebody and built that relationship and they have follow-up questions, now I can guide them to a site that, if you're unsure about the hours, if you need to know what special is on or whatever, then here's the Facebook page or here's the website. So using it as a reference tool to keep connected, but not for that initial connection.
Yeah. And then ideally putting them on an email list. And you all know I love an email list. So again, it could be a subscribe button on the website or some reason for them to get on your email list. Because I think it's a customer pathway. It's a journey. It's like they come in here, and that's when I'm talking about funnels. It's like, where do they first find out about you and how do you then move them intentionally? And these activities we're talking about today should be moving that person closer to, buying. And then if they buy, often they'll buy at a low ticket item. How do we get them to the high ticket item, let's say, right? Because we often have a range of items there. Brooklyn, over to you. What's up?
Hi, I just wanted to share quickly. So in terms of like using the dial for our businesses and being open to different types of engagement with our customers, that's what's really helped me. Is I just consistently am evolving with whatever the trend is. So sometimes with TikTok lives were really trendy thing for a while, where people were really heavily congregating over there any time of the day, basically, to view different types of content. I've been an Instagram streamer, which has been my main way of connecting with my customers. So I go live on Instagram on a consistent day and time every week. It allows my customers to ask me questions, meet with me, look at some of my products more in person, or sorry, not in person, but up close. Lets them see some of the details, and it gives them more of a personal connection with me, so that they feel not only like they're buying something, but that they're getting kind of an experience. They're connecting with a community of people that like the same things they do. And I'm also now working on a website, because I'm noticing what you guys are kind of talking about, where these days being Googleable while also having that online presence is really starting to become more prominent of a need. You need to have sort of a way for them to connect with you offline, because everyone's starting to get very busy. We all have a lot of heavy work schedules. So just in terms of being open to any avenue of connecting with your customers, there's nothing at first without trying new things. So even if you're not very comfortable or familiar with those platforms, I always say just try it out, because sometimes you find a niche way that ends up being the best way to connect with them, and it gives you a lot more sales and a lot more of a higher engagement.
Yeah, I love that. And back to what Jennifer said a while ago, which was knowing your customer. Like once you know that target customer, if you know they're on TikTok or you know they're on Instagram, or some of my clients, they're on just on LinkedIn. They're like my ideal clients are on LinkedIn, and they mine that resource and they do amazing just because they know that where their key people are. So the more you know that ideal customer, the better you can choose those platforms or spend the time. But I love what Brooklyn says is like play in the sandbox a little bit. And I always like to carve out time in my week where I get to play a little bit. Let me just try a new idea. And in my business, I threw out a new idea yesterday, and I don't have to talk about it because some of you follow me there, but it was something I've never done before. And I threw it out, and the traction is unbelievable. It's just like immediately people are like, we love this, we love this. And it's like, I was like, I almost didn't do it. But you know, sometimes you put something new out there and it's like, oh, that went well. Maybe I'll explore that a bit more. But again, if I didn't know my customers and clients, I wouldn't have even chosen that idea in the first place. So by talking, like Brooklyn's saying, to people in different ways, I love that. Yeah, and bottom line, you're being visible again. And so a lot of us, I don't know who in the group here needs to hear today. We need to start doing that. We are the face of our business, and we don't have to be perfect faces. And we do not, God knows I'm not perfect face, and I do not strive to be. But you know, that's some, and I actually am attracted to businesses that are not perfect faces. I will tell you that amongst us girls, I can relate to people who are not perfect faces, and I will be more attracted to what they're selling. That's just me. So the airbrush stuff doesn't work for me because I'm like that. I don't feel comfortable. Brooklyn, over to you.
Yeah, I was just in response to that again. I was going to say, really, for me, I'm not even on camera with my customers. I'm behind the scenes. And then they see me in person, for example, I'm online on camera, and then I say I'm going to be at these in-person events. So it kind of helps me co-advertise some of the other things I'm going to be at. They then pop up and get to see me in person. So it adds another layer of that engagement. So there's lots of different ways to really get together with them and get to know your customers so that they are more likely to stick with you and to be a long-term customer. For me, especially, I find it's also just a weird time with different levels of generations where we all have different ways that we prefer to connect. Younger people are more into social media, older people are more Facebook, email, some of those older versions of social media. So it's really all over the place, but as long as you're open to trying all of those different things, then you can connect in a lot of different ways. And even in-person stuff has become, obviously now that COVID's over, a lot more prominent again, which is exciting. So those in-person markets, and not even markets, but in-person opportunities to get together with other female businesses and other business owners even to help see what they're doing and give them some inspiration and then you. It's been great for me. I've joined a few groups like that where even I was stumbled upon this because another woman, Pedalworks Cafe. This gave me that opportunity. I would not have known about Pedalworks Cafe and their International Women's Day, or have been able to be part of their workshop as a business had I not been part of these groups and these meetings. So even
Yeah, and you just kind of touched on something, this online versus in-person activities also, which we pull about what's moving the dial. Like sometimes, again, we hide behind online a lot, but sometimes we just need to get out of our house and get into some kind of in-person thing, which again, as is appropriate, like Betty said, for your industry and sector. And by the way, you mentioned Pedalworks. I'll let you all know, I haven't even announced this yet, but our next in-person event will be June 3rd at Pedalworks Cafe for the WeCan community. And so I'm excited so we're going to be holding that with Martha at hers. So yeah, morning of June 3rd. If you're looking for an in-person WeCan activity, that's our next one that we're going to do with Martha's group. And it's going to be a great day or great morning. So yeah, like, I don't know, sometimes people do waste a lot of time online when they could be actually connecting in person. So it's like this balance, I think, and perhaps everything we're talking about today is balance as well. But right now in our current economic climate, face-to-face is very powerful. People want to see who they're dealing with and know that they're from their local region. Hyper local has never been selling better right now, right? If you're not on that train, jump on that train because that is selling really well. Brooklyn, over to you.
Sorry, I just because I'm in the playgroup, one last thing because I wanted to share with all you ladies before I hop back off camera. There is a local individual that I've connected with where some of you guys are looking for the online presence to be a little more heightened. If you're looking for a website or a blog, He was a Queen's University graduate, and he works based on your income and on your schedule. So he basically says, what do you need from me? What are you looking for? And then you can them work based on your schedule and the income that you have available versus a set price, or if you're someone who struggles a bit with your startup capital. He's been really helpful to me. So if anyone's looking for that to help get them started, they can message me and I'll link them to it, or try
Or
and
yeah,
link it
if
into
you know and you have some info, you can put it in the Zoom chat as well, but
Yeah,
that's really cool.
drop it below.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's big, that's big. So I'm gonna go to the Zoom chat. Jennifer is asking, and we can throw this out to the group, how common is it for people to gear their target audience towards groups that are similar to them in terms of how they like to get information or communicate? Like, for instance, if you like to communicate on LinkedIn, is your ideal client on LinkedIn? This is a great question. I definitely have an answer, but I want to throw it out. And my answer is not the right answer all the time, but Laura, let's let you start with it.
Okay, I'm just gonna check if you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. My response to that is yes, as like a way to make sure that I'm aligned with who I am and what lights me up the most, I try to continue to do things that I'm most attracted to and that are more like fulfilling and aligned with what I like, because I find that's an easier way to run a business so that I don't get burnt out trying to figure out all these new and great things. Like for a while, I thought I had to be on TikTok, but it just really wasn't doing it for me. And Instagram is where I like to be. I love LinkedIn. Lately, I'm finding there's a lot more traction there, and the clientele that I'm targeting right now is there. So I don't know if that answers that question.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm more so about things that really resonate with me, because then you stay, what's the word I'm looking for? Like lit up,
Consistent.
aligned, you're feeling like in the zone.
Yeah, because sometimes we will start, and then we'll go to Cheyenne next, but I found that I have started like try to platforms, and I play in the sandbox as well. But when I find something I really love, I'm consistent with it, because there's no point in just, showing up one day and then disappearing for a year. Whatever you choose has got to be, you have to be comfortable, in quotation marks. Sometimes we need to get out of our comfort zones, but we need to feel lit up, like Laura says, with that platform. And if we're not showing up, then it's not worthwhile. So in that way, that would be my thought on that. Cheyenne, over to you. Oh yeah, Laura.
Can I just share a little trick?
Yeah.
Something that I got really good at is that I do record podcasts regularly, and that's where I feel like most myself, probably because it's off camera, so it feels easier. But I take my podcast and I just cut up the content and then make it into reels. So it's like time savings. I'm passionate about it, and then I use it for other things. So I think finding something that you love is the best way to
Really smart.
find your audience.
And then repurpose the content, just like you've said. I love it. Cheyenne, over to you.
For content channels, I found there's two factors. For most of us, whatever we've created into our business quite often is sourced from something very personal, which means our target audience probably has a lot of overlap with us. So it's a good way to have a sense of how we absorb digital media, and it's quite likely other people who are like us in our target audience will use the same channels. The other half of it is, if you're your content creator, there's a lot of skill set that goes into that. So if it's a channel that you don't absorb, or a type of content you yourself are not a consumer of, you're going to give yourself a lot of work. So I always advise the type of content you like to absorb and you're really comfortable with is usually the type of content you're going to produce at the highest level, which means you're going to stay consistent and you're going to be able to stand out because the quality will be good. So that's always a good way to go with it.
And that authenticity factor that even Marta and others of you were talking about, like, we want to show up somewhere where we are ourselves, we feel ourselves, rather than we're just being fake or trying to be something. And don't get me wrong, I think sometimes you have to be it till you see it. Like you got to get out there and do something, and like, oh wait, I can do this, right? So do try things, but that shouldn't be our whole week, is trying things. That's like, I like Friday afternoons. Like that's when I try new things, and whether it's I go out and I meet with somebody, or I'm trying new technologies or whatever. So make it a part of your activities, but not let it take over your business activities, because otherwise you're just not getting traction. And to Cheyenne's point, I agree. I think that most of us go into business to help ourselves, who we were a few steps back, right? So whether it was like, someone who needed laundry services and we couldn't find them. So now we're solving that problem maybe for who we were, or maybe it's like Marta's situation with therapy. It's like, maybe I wish I had had someone, so I created this business. Very often we are our own customer, but just a few years ago. So especially if you're starting a business, that's a good place to start with that ideal client in mind. Yeah, just thought of that. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left. I know there are some other comments here in the Zoom chat, which I'm not getting to all of them, but I will let you guys, if you do want the Zoom chat, by the way, today's recording will be posted on our YouTube channel, but if anybody wants the text chat, I think there's a way you can download that yourself, or just email me and I can get it to you as well. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of wrap up this idea of what we can do today to move the dial in our business, because let's not just talk about, woo, like in this whole year. No, today, looking at your calendar, because there's a book I was just listening to on tape. I was on vacation last week and I was listening, not on tape, that's how old I am. It was an audiobook on whatever podcast platform. It's called The 12-Week Year, which I'm sure many of you have heard of it. And the author talks about how true progress happens through consistent daily activities, not grand plans, right? Even, we can make a plan for a month and that might not move the dial. It's like, look at today. What is on your calendar? Because what we do every day is what we do every year, right? It's just like, that's how we move the dial, by being really intentional about what's on your activities. So this is a throw out to you. What is something you're doing today that's going to move the dial in your business? This is how I want to end it, because I want to either inspire or to get you guys thinking. What is the thing on your calendar today, after today, that you are, or after this workshop, that you're going to do something that's going to move the dial? And anybody, yeah, just email me if you want the text chat. Otherwise, I might not see your message. But okay, what's something you're doing? Has anybody got something, or maybe you're getting inspired to do something? I don't know. Who's got something? Laura, over to you.
For sure, I need to record a reel that I've been avoiding doing, and a podcast. Like, today is my podcast day, so that always moves the dial and makes me feel really good to be putting something out into the world. So I have to remember that that's what lights me up. And then the other thing is, I just want to share, if I can, what I did today was actually decided that I wasn't going to be so like business focused and sit at my computer. And I ended up agreeing to go pick up, like, I volunteer for Sandy Pines Wildlife. So I went and picked up a wildlife animal from someone that needed it to be delivered. And I met someone that's basically my ideal client. And I just like remind myself that sometimes just saying yes to these random things also can like bring you to the right place. So that's my story.
Yeah. And if we're clear on who we serve and how we serve them, we'll recognize those opportunities, right? Because sometimes otherwise we could walk right past them. Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah. What kind of animal did you pick up? We all want to know.
A muskrat.
Oh my God, a muskrat. There we go. That is definitely not on my to-do list today, but I'm glad it was on yours. So Marta's saying one of the things that she's planning to do is to clarify, elevate her messaging to get to her intended audience. I love it. Other people thinking about it. I know we're wrapping up right now, but just think about what you're doing. By the way, if you're stuck and you're a weekend client, you can book a 1-hour session with me. It's free. I'm not upselling you here. It's just like, let's book it. Let's talk about it. Sometimes just talking it through with somebody else who doesn't necessarily tell you what to do, but lets you hear your own thoughts and gives you feedback, might be something that will help move the dial as well. So thank you for being a part of today's call. I really appreciate it. Thanks for those who were bold to participate both in the Zoom chat as well as those who are listening. There is value in all of that. And so we look forward to seeing next time. If you're not on our email list, get on there, because there's lots of good workshops coming up, including next Thursday. We have one on safeguarding your business against cyber risk, which is something we all need to be aware of right now. So reach out to me if you don't have, if you're not on our email list, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.